Greetings. If you are here and if you can hear me, please type in the chat. Greetings. If you are here and if you can hear me, please type in the chat. Oops. Where did Okay, welcome everyone. The person that's typing cool, Mr. M, is actually me, yours truly, Trinity God X. So I I was kind of worried for a minute. Shout out to Lacey Bryce as well as ONN Senior X. Let me turn the volume down so I don't hear an echo. Whoops. And of course, Angela, shout out to you. Since it is 40 minutes after 7 o'clock, I will just go ahead and start the presentation. Welcome, welcome, welcome to my Nine Ether Truth participants tonight. I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to view this presentation. So as you can see, this is the topic. And I know it says black people. And I don't like using the word black people because I know that doesn't accurately describe who we are. We are high frequency, high vibration, melanated nine ether beings. I'm well aware. However, I do use the word black so that we remain on the same page. I don't want to get tied up and bogged down with semantics. So let's just keep it on the same level that we can all relate on. And I meditate that you're going to learn a lot from this slideshow presentation. It's about 160 slides. um, every every half hour. Yeah, every half hour I will give a 5 minute break because this is going to be epic. Now, it's not going to be 5 hours like the Tamahu's video. However, it is about 2 hours. So every half hour, starting at 7:45. So the next 5 minute break is at is at 8:15. All right. So without further ado, let's get started. What do you see? What do you see with your first eye? Yes, the Krakatoid, and I have coined the phrase Krakatoid, is trying to erase the past and erase his story. I want you to, I guess, get familiar with three terms that I've made up because I don't want to get caught up in U-Turd's algorithm. Krakatoid, which refers to the Caucasian. Tamahu, of course, refers to all of them. Caucasoid, Mongoloid, Asiatic. And Cracklet, which is the babies. Okay? All right, so let's get started. In this video, I will be basically doing an intro, public service announcement. Then I will be discussing slavery and how it never happened the way they said it did. I will be talking about my take on the 5-hour video. This is the bulk of this whole presentation. That takes up about 75% of all my slides. I really, I'm going to go in on the 5-hour presentation or the 5-hour Tamahu video. Number 4, the Great Flood. There was no mud flood. Number 5, fire from above. Number 6, Yellow Brick Road. Number 7, TAR-tarian are about black people, period. Number 8, the motherboard. Technology and how they dispense, it's dispensed worldwide. So I guess those two are kind of similar. So it's the motherboard, and then 9 is technology and how they dispense it worldwide. We were giants is, I guess, chapter 10. 11, how they keep 9 ethers dumbed down, lost, and unaware. 12, why events are unfolding the way they are currently. And finally, 13, solution and conclusion. I appreciate your time that you're taking out to be here. Welcome, Regality. I see you, sis. And now, let's get started. Slavery never happened the way it did. Okay? Uh, I question why 9 ethers want to identify with the narrative that's in the Hollywood movies and in the books, in the history books of slavery. Now, were there very poor 9 ethers that worked cotton fields and worked farms for Tamahu? Yes, absolutely. Were there Tamahu that beat us sometimes and kicked us and killed us back in the day? Absolutely. However, the worldwide logistics of this boat coming over from Africa with a bunch of captured Africans to enslave our folks on lands where there were already 9 ethers, it does not compute. And upon doing further research, I'm also questioning, why did it even end? Because if it was so great for Tamahu, why are you going to stop a good thing? Right? There's a lot of things that I'm going to talk about with the Tamahu 5-hour video that exposes the fact that that slavery, nope, didn't happen. And I would love to get your feedback on what I'm saying as I say it. So do type your reactions, emojis, questions. I will answer it as I go along. I don't want to leave a question and answer for the end because this is a long presentation and the question and answer would take forever. So if you have any questions as you see the slide, just ask it. I'm looking at my phone as we speak as I'm doing the presentation. Okay. So this is the imagery that they put in your face. Now, I need you to learn how to decode, discern, and decipher images. What you are seeing here at the top are just poor migrant workers working a farm, and they have clothes and a shack type house in the back. And of course, the Tamahu on the farm has the biggest house. And they work. Now, if you really want to talk about slavery, well, look at what's going on today. You have to work for your paycheck. If you don't work for your paycheck, there are consequences. So these people that you see maybe got, I don't know how the currency is, but like a penny a week or something. And they got food and they got clothes. They didn't get the best food. They didn't get the best clothes. They were extremely poor. Their living quarters were poor. However, they were just poor workers on the farm. The one in the bottom, photo op. Complete Hollywood makeup mumbo jumbo to make you feel inferior to Tamahu. Now, when you see these images, don't catch feelings, don't get triggered. Look at the 9 ether lying on the floor. He looks very comfortable, very laid back, almost stress-free if you really want to think about it. All they do is they told our 9 ethers to pose pretty for the camera, took the picture, and then 200-300 years later, they're trying to tell us that they were slaves. Just like when, let's say, 100 years from now, with all these people walking around with the M on their face, they're going to peddle that narrative deceptively and put false information over why that is. The same lies are repeated, they're just dressed up in different ways. So don't buy this. Now, if you really want to know and see who's a quote unquote slave, yeah, you're looking at it. Okay? Every different person from every different socioeconomic background that has to work a job, a job, or a career, no matter if you're low paid or no matter if you're high paid, you are a slave. You are a slave to that almighty dollar, because if you stop working, there are consequences. And of course, your boss or your supervisor is your overseer. And you have to make sure you do what your overseer says, or there will be consequences. This starts from in the school room, the indoctrination concentration camp that we should not be sending our children to as nine ethers. We should be homeschooling. No excuse. This is 2021. Find an auntie or a grandmother and group the children with one auntie, one grandmother, 5, 10, 15 at a time, and allow her, as she is retired, to homeschool. There is no excuse for not homeschooling our babies. Here's another set of slaves. Did you recognize that they're slaves? Because they're slaves. They have to do what they're told. And if they don't do what they're told, there will be consequences. They have to go to training. They have to eat a certain type of dietary, they must have a dietary regime. They must exercise. They must keep their body in shape. They must practice their craft from young. They must win the game. They must be champions. They must be the best of the best, or there is consequences. This is another type of slaves. Here are a bunch of other slaves. These are mini slaves. Mini slaves being indoctrinated, being brainwashed. This, what you are witnessing, is child abuse, in my humble opinion. This is where they first get that round globe in every classroom brainwashed into them. This is where they're lied to about gravity sticking, allowing us to stick to this round beach ball. This is where the teacher, who's just doing her job, is perpetuating lies, especially about history and especially about Nine Ether's contribution to this physical realm. Here's another bunch of slaves. Busy bees going, you gotta get to the bank on time, gotta get to work on time, gotta go to the doctor's appointment, gotta go here, oh, I'm late for this, I have to meet this person, oh, I'm running late. Yep, the rushing, hustling, bustling city goer is a slave. No matter the phenotype, age, socioeconomic background, you're looking at slaves. Here's another slave. You need to know, understand, and overstand presidents are not elected, they are selected by the beast behind the curtain, by the one that you cannot see, the shadow government. All presidents and prime ministers for every country around the world are pre-selected 10 and 20 years in advance. So if you go and do what you see this person is doing, you are a sheep and a slave. So it's time to wake up. Don't vote. Your vote doesn't count. Okay. Here's another set of slaves. Slaves to sports watching, slaves to television watching, playing out the mind control programming and hypnotizing themselves with this big rectangle with all the flashing lights and the pretty pictures that is overstimulating their brain. And mothers and fathers of all phenotypes plop their 1 and 2-year-old in front of the television from very early age to brainwash and mess with their brainwaves as they're growing. And this television, this rectangle box, creates baby slaves into teenage slaves into adult slaves. Okay. Well, I don't know who would agree or disagree. However, you are bearing witness to slaves. At the end of the day, they are actually just doing their job. You can't blame a pig for being a pig, no more than you can blame a stove for being hot. A stove is just doing what a stove was made to do. So if a pig roughs you up in the street and slams you to the ground and illegally incarcerates you, the pig is doing what the pig is told to do. Now, the pig is stupid and the pig is a sheep. However, the pig is still carrying out orders from a supervisor because he or she is a slave. There are three slaves in this image. Now, one might say only one. Well, if the one in the gray was a nine ether, one might say there's only one. Nope. There are three slaves in this image, and the two in the army uniform are just as much a slave as the young man in the gray hoodie. Learn to know who's a slave. Politicians are slaves because they have to carry out the orders from above. And if they do not carry out the orders from above, there will be consequences. Everything they say and everything they do is pre-planned and pre-scripted. They have to follow the script. They cannot deviate from the script in any way, shape, form, or capacity, or there will be consequences. Example, the Haitian Prime Minister, I think a month ago, spoke out about the V and how he will not give it to his citizens. And in a few weeks after making that public statement, he was murdered. They say he was assassinated by a coup. However, come on, Nine Ether Nation, we know what happened. So it's clear that even the ones at the podium on television in the role as presidents and prime ministers are also slaves. Oh, we did that. Celebrities are slaves. They have to dress how someone else tells them. They have to keep their hair how someone else tells them. They have to say what someone else. If you think a celebrity on a talk show or sitting in a cafe or in a Target parking lot is just being free and candid, nope. Everything out their mouth is scripted. Everything out of their mouth has to be pre-approved by their puppet master above them. If they deviate from the script, there will be consequences. Celebrities are slaves. So I ask you in 2021, who is the slave that you see on the screen? Who is the one that is oppressed? Is one oppressed more than the other? Or are they equally oppressed? Or are they differently oppressed? Or are they both just slaves with different roles in the matrix? We are all slaves, no matter your phenotype, socioeconomic background, education. Everyone at the bottom of the pyramid, regardless of the hue of your skin, regardless of your phenotype, regardless of your lifestyle, your mindset, everyone at the bottom of the pyramid who has to work for a paycheck or who has to follow orders from someone above is a slave. So it's not just nine ethers. Let's keep it 100. Okay, so now let's talk about my take on the 5-hour video. My. You must have thought I lost my mind when you saw this in your email inbox and you saw the number 5 with the word hour and you're like, is Trinity God X losing it? I am not. I assure you, I am lucid, sane, and coherent. As a matter of fact, the backstory to this 5-hour video, how I happened upon it is a couple weeks ago, I was trying to send a sister some information about tartaria. I will teach you about tartaria soon. And the mud flood. And then I saw this. And then when I looked in the bottom right and I saw 5 hours, I was like, what? As soon as I clicked on it and I listened to the first 30, 60 seconds, I knew this was the video. And when I say the video, it is so chock filled with information that is from a unique perspective. The Tamahu is obviously brave and full of courage, as everyone should be, and he doesn't care about the consequences of the real truth that he's putting out. Okay, so I do customer service from home. I put on the headset from 12 to 8:30 p.m. every Monday to when do I work? Every Tuesday to Saturday is when I work. And the calls don't come in very often, maybe 5, 10, sometimes 15 minutes in between calls. So I intook 1 hour of this video at the beginning of my shift, and then I took bite size every break between calls during my lunch, and I watched a couple hours at the end of my shift. And by midnight of that day, I had took the entire 5 hours, and wow. Yeah, so let me move on. So the things that I liked about this Tamahu video. All right. So the visuals, the images and video footages, off the chain, because he shows rarely seen footages, or he shows vintage footages from the 1800s. However, he makes you look at a certain aspect of the picture that you're viewing. He brings your attention to a certain perspective of the image. He helps you to decode, discern, and decipher what you are viewing, and I like that. His delivery, yes, not too condescending, not too dumbed down. I do a lot of research, and I can't stand it even when Tamahu or anybody speaks like I'm a 1-year-old, or they speak in such high technical terms like they're on TED Talk, or there's some fancy neuroscientist that I can't process the information. I can't stand that. So he uses very, neutral words. He uses, oh, he does not use, I meant to say, he doesn't use over the top technical terms, and he's not boring. Okay? Sorry for the typo, folks. I did this when I was so tired, late. Um, Number three, he breaks down the real science about how gadgets work, how electricity is harnessed, distributed, how the stationary Earth works, how electromagnetic energy works. He even touches on alchemy. Okay. He tells on his own Tamahu. He's throwing them under the bus like nobody's business. Okay? So yeah, how he tells on his Tamahu, I have 6 examples showing how they are robbing people by charging them. I meant to say by charging them for electricity. Yeah, why are we paying for electricity? Listen, everyone, we should be living free on this earth. We are born into this earth. We don't owe anyone anything. We have no debts. We should be eating of fruits and vegetables all around us, just picking our food, our clothes. We can make them ourselves. Free electricity is all around us. We don't need to pay for anything. We don't have to. We shouldn't have to be going to a job to make somebody else's richer, or there'll be consequences. We shouldn't have no stress. We should have clean air, clean water, clean food. We should be able to sleep when we want, go wherever we want, travel wherever we want without using a passport. Yeah, that's what we should be doing, and that's what we did in ancient times, which I will get to in a moment. Number two, when they could get electricity for free. So he talks about when they got electricity for free, exposing fondlings and live baby sideshows, fair ground cover up with them little cracklets all over the place. So many of them. I'll talk about that in a bit. Showing his kind as poor and dirty. Well, I think that's pretty self-explanatory. He don't care. He also shows that the Tamahu lacking intelligence for constructing majestic, energy using, useful, free energy, everlasting buildings, and only building tissue box shaped huts made of uneven nailed together wood and zinc tops. So in other words, he states that there's no way horse and buggy Tamahu could make these majestic buildings. He kind of contradicts himself in a place on when he's speaking on that point, but I'll get to that later. I really like his logic, common sense, and breakdown of the topic. I really do. Overall, I like the presentation, obviously, because I wouldn't be speaking on it, posting it on the channel, etc. However, here's what I did not like about his presentation. The Jedi mind tricks. And they were covert. However, with me, I have my first eye wide open, so I spotted them right away. What Jedi mind tricks, you may ask? The entire time he implies that his kind are the ones that constructed all those buildings. You see the exclamation mark shaking my head. This is also a contradiction. Yeah, so how can he say that the horse and buggy Tamahu never had the ability to construct the buildings, but he so much as implies that his ancient Tamahu ancestors are the ones that did it? Nah, nope. I did not miss that point. He contradicted himself. They're basically trying to put themselves everywhere as ancient. However, in this presentation, I'm going to show you Krakatoids are not ancient. Okay. Speaking of Krakatoids, I have to use that. That's my word for the Caucasian version of them. Speaking of Krakatoids, the Cracker Jesus image that he showed, And of course, the scripture and religious rhetoric. Nah, miss me on that. His convenient omission of anything or anyone even remotely close to being nine ether. No mention, no illustration, no picture, no reference of any kind in the entire 5 hours of discussion over 500 years of his story, and not one nine ether in his presentation. Okay? Yeah, that was not missed by me. I caught that because when I intake information, I always have in the back of my mind this question: where are the nine ethers? Where are the nine ethers? How do they factor in? What did they invent? And if I hear a Tama who never make mention of us or never show us, yeah, I know it's a covert cover up, Jedi mind trick, peep game. Okay, yeah, and of course, I mean, this one deserves its own slide. Like, you can't blame them, because if they need a messiah or somebody to look up to, it gotta look like them. Like I said earlier, a stove can't help but being hot, so a Krakatoid can't help but be a Krakatoid. Okay? Point blank, simple. Alright, yes, more Jedi mind trick. And surprisingly, I did not like the fact that it wasn't long enough. Now, a lot of you are going to get up in arms and get triggered. Oh my gosh, Trinity God X, you are losing your mind. You actually want this thing to be longer than 5 hours? Me personally, remember it says in the top left what I liked. Me personally, I would have watched another 5 hour. I would have watched 10 hours of that because it was teaching me so much that I haven't really. I learned little tidbits here and there, but in that 5 hours, I learned what I probably learned in the last 20 years of being awake. I learned so much, and I appreciate it. The truth part of his presentation really resonated with my melanin and my pineal gland. So I didn't even like for it to be over. I wanted it to be longer. I want to learn more. I'm so fascinated about this topic. However, all good things must come to an end, right? So, this is interesting because this map shows the world very different from how they indoctrinate you about it in school. This is one of the ancient maps. Now, to me, accuracy not it's not that accurate, but the thing that sticks out to me is how different it is from the standard society's version of the map of the world. So now my first eye is wide open, and I'm able to decode the certain decipher. And what the implication of this image, this map, is telling me is that what we have today as a map is a complete and utter lie. Now, again, I'm not saying that this map is 100% accurate, but it's so different that it just makes you want to question everything about the current map and the so-called circle globe that we are given. And it should trigger you to question, well, why does this look so vastly different from what I was given in school, from what they show in books and on television? What's going on? So if this doesn't make you question what you are told as the truth, well, I don't know. Okay. So they want to to paint themselves, and remember, this is a drawing. Okay, don't ever trust drawing. If you hear a story on television and you see court drawings, like an actual pencil with colorings and painting, know that it's an automatic hoax. It's not real. It never happened. No one went to court. Someone just drew something and put it on the news. So I always take drawings from so-called ancient days with a grain of salt. You gotta chew the cherry and spit out the seed. However, like, in this image, they're drawn in fancy clothes and they look uncomfortable as hell. They look like, there's a steel rod up their back. They don't look comfortable at all. That's because this type of fancy dressing does not suit them. Okay? Krakatoids don't dress up fancy, not even for no. Okay? They learned their style of dressing from us. So this drawing is Jedi mind tricks. You know how the deal. We nine ethers, we are the ones who wear the clothes versus the Tamahu who allows clothes to wear them. Okay? We have always been stylish. I mean, even if we're down to our last penny, our hair gotta look good. girl, you got to do your nails, whatever. I'm not into nails and lashes, but for the sisters who do their nails and lashes, hats off to you because you make them look good. And of course, we and don't let anyone tell you that wigs and weaves are bad or anything like that. Wigs and weaves are there to protect our sacred antenna underneath, and it's ancient. Wigs and weaves are thousands, tens of thousands of years. We have been wearing wigs and weaves. So whatever floats your boat. I'm a natural sister. I like to go my natural hair with braids. Whatever you're into, as long as it look good and you can put it together. And the color, nobody does color like a nine ether. Okay, let's keep it 100. The Krakatoas, they're with their muted gray and brown and all those bland gray looking colors. Nah. And then recently they're trying to emulate us with the colors, but the skin is so pale that the color doesn't pop on them like it does medium tone or a dark skin sister. I mean, come on, you know. And of course the brother to the left, well, he ready for the club. He popping bottles and making it rain. Okay, so that's how we do throughout the ages. We are the fancy ones. We are the ornament. We adorn our body in garb that is elegant and classy and graceful. I mean, granted, of course, we have the poor version of us too, right? We make everything look good. I mean, we are the ones who are the stylish, the fashionable. The world looks to us for the styles, and let's not talk about the young brothers and sisters in the urban cities around the world. The world is looking to them for trends, and then they try to emulate it, and by they I mean the Krakatoas. However, whenever they try to emulate it, we all know it don't look the way it should look. Look at the sister on the right. She is confident. I love that swimsuit. I want to get something like that made. The brother in the middle, he's an elder. He's probably in his 50s, but he got his leather jacket with his jeans going on. Love his style. And of course, the brother and the sister to the right. You cannot go wrong with African print and a tulip dress and an African type of hairstyle and have a brother by your side with a matching outfit. It's just classic, okay? And all of this stylish trait that we exude today is ancient. It's baked in our cake. It is DNA memory. Why is there a blank side? So, they try to dress up. I mean, sometimes I feel sorry for them because they don't have nothing of their own. When you see them dress up and when you see them in fancy clothes, know that these styles that they are wearing come from a nine ether. This is how we were dressing, and so they just emulated it. Because remember, at the end of the day, they are made in the caves. So when they came out, they saw we were dripping in gold and diamonds and rubies and the most stylish of outfit, and eventually we had to either teach them or they taught themselves how to dress and look presentable. So use your common sense, Nine Ether Nation, okay? I mean, I try to be as fair as possible. Both those couples are dressed up. They're dressed formal. They're dressed to go somewhere. Now, if you look at the fancy building on the right, does your brain say is more likely to have made that 5,000, 10,000 years ago? Whose bloodline made that building 5,000 years ago, 1,000 years ago? Come on. It's not even, I mean, the writing is on the wall, people, okay? They don't make things, they haven't created things, they don't invent things. They get everything from nine ethers because we are the ancient ones. Okay, so if you're squeamish, I do apologize. However, this is an old video from the 1800s, I think maybe late 1800s, and so this was the first time that something was caught, well, I think they say caught on video. This man in the white hat told the town, if you invent a parachute and it can float, I'll give you whatever, 5,000 whatever liras at the time. So this Tamahu with the hat decided to strap some looking curtain rods and some shower curtains or whatever it looks like, and he thought that this would win the contest and he would get the money. He first tried to jump off a building into some hay, and I think it sort of kind of worked. So now he's gonna up the ante, and he told the person who created the contest, I'm gonna jump off the Eiffel Tower. Okay, now this is the first time that this is being caught on. See, he's practicing. So I'm not trying to be gruesome or grotesque. If you're easily squeamish, maybe you want to turn away. It didn't turn out well for this Tamahu in the late 1800s. And he prepared himself. He prepared himself. This is what he invented. He invented this, and he thought, okay, it's gonna work. A bunch of curtains and some curtain rods, and I'm jumping off the Eiffel Tower right now, and I'm gonna float. And you could see steam coming out of his mouth. It's cold, right? So he gets ready, he prepares himself, and when he feels like it's the time, he's going to win the money, he's going to win the contest, this is his invention, his brainchild, he does, yes, what you think he's going to do. Jumps off the Eiffel Tower with some curtains. I'm thinking it's curtains because it looks like curtain, and some rods. And unfortunately, this here is the plop first death that was ever filmed on a video. He didn't make it. Now, I'm not trying to show this for shock value. I'm trying to demonstrate to you R.I.P. Man in Hat. I'm trying to demonstrate to you that when they think of their own inventions and try to build things, it does not translate. They can't do it. They lack that neural melanin with the frequency and the vibration. They lack the supple pineal. They can't do it. So that was what that was. Now this image here, very interesting. It's called the allegory, the allegory in the cave. Look it up on Google whenever you get a chance. However, I'm going to put my own spin on it. So the one sitting down is pointing at the bird like it's a real bird, and it's really fascinating, and he's looking at it and he's focused on it, not knowing all the while that there's somebody behind him that he can't see off in the distance that is projecting the bird. The bird isn't real, but the one that's sitting down thinks it is. You could not tell him that the bird was not real. However, he believes in his heart of hearts the bird is real. This picture really sums up the world today. We are seeing things with our eyes, we're hearing things, and we think it's real. However, it's not. There's someone behind us, or behind the curtain, or off in the distance where we can't see, that is deceiving us. However, we're holding on to our quote-unquote belief system, and we're suffering from cognitive dissonance when someone tries to wake us up. And here we sit pointing at the bird, which represents the illusion in this world. Very sad. Now, when you see a statue like this, like, okay, the light posts at the bottom are like standard light posts of today. So what are we talking, like 10 feet, something like that? This statue must be at least, I'm thinking 60 feet, maybe 50, 60 feet. And the detail in the carving. Now, when you see statues that are of Tamahu, know that it's a nine ether that carved it. Okay, our nine ethers left a lot of clues here. Don't assume that a statue of a Tamahu is always carved by a Tamahu. A lot of the times our nine ethers of the era, so let's say 1,000 years ago, 500 years ago, would carve these things to say, hey, this was what the Tamahu looked like. So I'm trying to keep this show friendly, family friendly, but the thing in the front of the man that's exposed, yeah, our people was trying to say, yeah, they have a small one, so sisters, he is not the one. Stick with us nine ether men. So the detail and the scale of these things that the Tamahu in the 5-hour video shows, magnificent. Now this picture, a picture is worth 1,000 words. So what the Tamahu in the 5-hour video said was, based on the shadow, and he's very intelligent by looking at the shadow, based on the shadow he estimates it's around noon, a little bit after noon, yet and still there's just mud and some really advanced looking buildings. Why is that? Where are the people? And this is one of the first times I stopped. I'm trying to remember all the black and white pictures I've seen in history books and on so-called the History Channel back in the day when I used to watch. And yes, they used to show some black and white pictures with lots of people, but I don't recall them ever showing a black and white picture with barren streets. So my eyes are beholding these types of pictures for the first time. I'm I am blown away. So there are no people in this town. Why are there no people in this town? Here's a one of the things that I and then okay, if my words are spoiler alerts for those who haven't watched the 5 hour video, I implore you, please watch the 5 hour video. Greetings, cis eccentric. Welcome, welcome. For those of you who haven't watched the 5 hour video, please go ahead and watch it. But I'm going to have a bunch of spoilers, so I don't know if it's going to be boring for you. Anyways, so this Tamahu in the 5 hour video made me know that you're not just looking at a big stone thing that has a curve in the middle. He literally broke it down and enlightened me and let me know that you're looking actually at a gigantic magnet. For you see, our ancient ones, because there's no way Tamahu could build all these structures in my presentation. Our ancient ones used our buildings to harness energy and disperse it throughout the city, and bring it down to all the little houses as free electricity. So, you're, if you think they didn't have electricity back then, you are wrong, wrong, wrong. They had electricity 500 years ago. They had electricity 1,000 years ago. They had electricity 5,000 years ago. They had electricity 10,000 years ago. As far back as the mind can wander, electricity has been harnessed. And who was the one who originated the science to use an actual building in cities to harness energy, to give free energy to the people? Nine ethers. Okay? I better be careful because I don't want, I'm trying not to think on low vibration. However, the information I'm putting out here now is, yeah, very threatening to the matrix, so I gotta watch it. But yeah, our ancients had free energy and they gave it all to the people. So this is a magnet. The bottom parts that's touching the ground is the north and south of the magnet. It's a horseshoe magnet. And just look at the detail on the thing. Well, I mean, these are nine ethers carving this. And then the doorway in the middle. You got to look at the bottom. Those are little tiny tamahu. So why would you make a thing with a doorway? And it is kind of like a bridgeway. We must have had massive giants. I'm talking nine ether giants. Well, I'll talk about giants later on. So, when Tamahu make their housing, I mean, this is how it started. Eventually, they learned by reverse engineering all the blueprints of houses that we constructed. They couldn't make the magnificent ones, but they made basic ones. The basic ones you see in the suburbs that today, those are basic compared to the majestic buildings, gigantic buildings that our nine ether made. And yeah, they make little wooden shack, especially back then. And note that there's mud on the floor. Okay. So look at this building, and then look at Leroy and Shaniqua. Okay, nine ethers. You made this building. Don't let them tell you Russians and Indians and Persians made this building. If they were Russians, Indians, and Persians, they looked like Shaniqua and Leroy to the left. Okay, because even the pattern in their outfit matches the intricacy, the fancifulness, the ornament, the design of the building to the right of them. Okay, when we wear clothes that is fancy and well designed, that's our DNA memory. Because it's not by accident why the nine ethers are the most stylish on the planet. Okay, we remember. We have DNA memory. I don't care if we are sleeping sheep, Christian, lost mentally, lost, out to lunch, high vibration, low vibration. When we dress up, we dress up. So it's only common sense that the ones who started out building their house out of wood and zinc and looking like this, where in the way in the background, Nine Ethers built those big majestic buildings. It's only natural that when they dress up in modern day, they're plain. I mean, look at their outfit. They're supposed to be dressed fancy to go out like to a wedding or something. And to me, I don't like her dress, and to me, I don't like his shirt, his suspenders, his pants. The colors are all blah. I mean, you could do something with that animal fur that's hanging down. Like, they don't look fancy. These Krakatoids, they don't do fancy very well. Even when they try, it just looks odd. So these buildings, as the Tamahu in the 5 hour video enlightened me, are not just buildings for building's sake. They serve a purpose, and their purpose is to harness energy through the electromagnetic field in the atmosphere and through the gases, and those spiky things you see at the top are antennas that's drawing electricity. And the way the streets are, the grid brings the electricity, free electricity, to the people in the town. So one of these buildings are just, I mean, and then we started decorating it because we were just showing off at one point. We're like, oh, look, we have such advanced technology that we can just design it in the most beautiful. I can imagine the color of this building. Yeah. Let me see here. Renaissance, Gothic, Medieval. So these are the different, I guess, architectural titles that they put on these things. Medieval was always in my mind. I'm like, what is medieval? That means the middle of evil, right? So yeah, these buildings that they have as churches and cathedrals, and then they have this pointy thing at the top. They are not churches and cathedrals. This Tamahu, in the 5 hour video, enlightened me and let me know that Tamahu came after and repurposed these buildings to make it look like they're not ancient. However, they are ancient. So, and your Nine Ether people did that. I'm trying to read. Let me take a moment to read in the chat. Okay, what is absolutely correct? Where are all the people? Oh, I'm going to get to that in a minute, sis. More importantly, where the white people eventually came from. Come on, you know where they came from. Every aspect of who we are is under attack, microscopically. We just take it, what we are taught in school, never questioning anything. Absolutely. And then Shim's true. Sadly, I'm a special eds teacher in the Matrix. Oh, sorry, but I gotta keep it 100. Luckily, I haven't been able to teach due to the nature of the children who are to be counseled and spiritually taught. All right. All right, so let me get back to it. They have books. They have books that talk about how their people made this, and they give titles to that, and they show their Krakatoid statues, and they try to put themselves in and usurp what we created as Nine Ethers. But peep game, okay? These are fancy buildings your eyes are beholding. We are fancy people. Krakatoids are not fancy people, so there you go. And here's the proverbial question. It's the middle of the day, and where are the people? And I see some very strong looking buildings, and I know I see the white one there, and I can tell it was made by a Nine Ether. But where are the people? Now, this is quite an anomaly. A beautiful, majestic building with very intricate detail, and in the midst of a landscape filled with mud. As the Tamahu said in the 5 hour video, you would think that the people that made the beautiful, majestic building would have the forward thinking to actually pave the roads with something, okay? So the roads are all muddy. Where are well, there are a few people in this one, but why are the roads muddy? Okay, this was the question was nagging me at the beginning. So this in this picture perfectly demonstrates what I was telling you about slavery. I'm sorry if you bought the slavery narrative. Slavery didn't happen, okay? There are poor people, poor Asiatics, poor Mongoloid Asiatics, poor Caucasoids that had to work menial jobs. The nine ethers are no exception. We had to work menial jobs. We had, poor looking, ripped up, dirty clothes. We lived in a little shack, what have you, back in certain time. Okay, I'm only talking in the last 100 or 200 years. Okay, so yeah, you nowadays you have poor people all over. So I say in this picture, they're digging out with the mud. However, if slavery, this looks to be like early 1900s. So if nine ethers were treated so badly, and Caucasian could have their way and have a nine ether slave, why didn't they just hire a nine ether slave to clear the roads? No, they're doing it themselves. Okay. Sometimes we have to use our sense to solve nonsense. Okay. Even though this is the 1900s when they said that slavery ended in the 18 something. How convenient. But still, if nine ethers are just easy to take over and enslave, why are they shoveling their own roads? Okay. And this picture makes me laugh because two Krakatoas have ties on. Why are you gonna wear a tie to dig mud? It just doesn't make sense. But yeah, they're digging their own mud, and there was lots and lots of mud. So the Tamahu in the 5 hour video was saying towards the end of the 18th century and the beginning of the 19th century, like let's say the last 10 years of the 18th century and the 10 year, all Krakatoas were doing was digging out mud from the street, digging out mud, digging out. What? Nobody told us this in school, okay? Nobody told us this in school. So why are they digging out mud? Good question. And then the Tamahu taught about liquefaction. Okay, liquefaction is when the street is paved, but there's a flood or a tsunami, so the excess water that rolled into the city actually made the streets mushy like jello. And this is an actual video, but I chose to just make it a picture. And the person's poking it with a stick, and it's mushy like jello. So, mushy streets like jello, mud, when a tsunami hits, okay. More questions. So what they were figuring out was these majestic buildings, and behold the sight of that white building. Your nine ether people made that. That makes me so proud. But when the Krakatoas dig and dig and dig, they realize that it's not a complete building, that there's a whole entire other part of the building that looked like it was sunken in, because the part of the building that's at ground level has windows touching the grass. So why would someone build the windows so low to the ground? Well, when they excavate, they realize it's because it was a whole building above ground that happened to sink in due to liquefaction. Okay, and remember, liquefaction was when water came in, flood, tsunami, and made the surface so soft that things sank into it. Okay. So you're probably wondering, okay, well, where did the water come from? How comes buildings are sinking? And this is worldwide, okay? The Tamahu in the video was saying all these majestic buildings are all over the world. Spain, Germany, Canada, America, Greece, Italy. All of these buildings are built similar, and they're strong and fanciful, but they look like they're sunk in. So the Tamahu, I'm showing you this picture, is saying that there was a great cataclysm. I forgot how to say that word. So a big worldwide event occurred where there was flooding. And I've always spoken about flooding in my previous videos. However, okay, I've happened upon new information, new revelation, which also told me fire fell from the sky. Okay, I don't mean fire as in like literal. It's more in lightning form, which I will get to later on. So there was a mixture of fire and water that came and just destroyed the earth. Now the question remains, when did this happen? When I'm looking at the totality of the 5 hour video, it's clear to see that somewhere in the 1800s, somewhere maybe at the beginning of the 1800s, there was a worldwide cataclysm, yes, cataclysm, that occurred where there was fire and water in every country all over the world. Big flooding that killed trillions, I don't know if there were trillions, but killed a lot of people, okay? And then what happened was there were only a few people that survived. So for your question earlier, where are the people? They got washed away. Okay, trying to keep this video clean. They got washed away. Okay, and only a few remain. And I'm talking all peoples. So a great disaster happened in the 1800s. They don't tell you this. Okay. So the Tamahu was asking about the narrative, and I like this so much that I screenshotted it, and let's go through them one by one. Number one, he says that what lies beneath are not remains of previous civilizations. More often than not, the buried structures of consistent are consistent with the architecture we see above ground. So he's saying that they lied to us and just said the building is as is when really it's a buried building. Number two, the structures are much larger than originally suspected, and therefore they are even more of a construction impossibility for a Victorian generation of horse and cart and those existing before them. So this goes to what me and a sister, we were talking in the comments section. We were saying, yeah, horse and buggy, Taj Mahal, they just don't go together. The natural topsoil accumulation and soil liquefaction are satisfactory explanation for what we see here. Whatever took place had to be something more larger and widespread, such as a natural or artificial earthly cataclysm. There's that word, of sorts. So he's asking the question. He's hypothesizing whether it was a natural or an artificial. That's something that's rolling in my head even as I say it. Okay. Number four, many citizens of the 1800s were responsible for moving much of the mud, leveling the ground, and excavating buildings, which suggested that whatever happened had happened very recently in their past. So those pictures that he was showing was about around the end of the 1800s. So I'm thinking, okay, so if I had to put a date on it, I would say the cataclysm occurred somewhere in the 1850s, no, maybe even 1870s. Really, it's hard to say, but the pictures he shows are of the late 1800s. So yeah, he's saying that based on them digging out, it shows that whatever happened very recently in their time. Number five, the complete absence of a reasonable mainstream justification for the buried architecture we see suggests that the controllers of our realm are deliberately trying to hide whatever happened. Okay, so literally, they don't have an explanation for the buried buildings around the world, and some of them are even lean, like the Leaning Tower of Pisa. Okay, and there's a lot of Leaning Tower of Pisas all over the world. I would say there's like 50 or 60 of them. These are buildings that are just naturally lean, and people just go in them as they're lean. However, there's no there's no explanation. No book explains it. So so at the beginning of the turn of the century, I would say in the 1900s, 1920s, there are all these books that came out that showed Krakatoid orphans, like lots of books. And I remember Little Orphan Annie was my favorite. Gosh, I'm guilty about that. So all these books came out about these roaming Krakatoids, children going off on adventures on their own, all by themselves, no adult, no mother, no father. And you read these books, and they have these fantastical adventures, and I'm thinking, where's your parents? Do you know? And there were tons of books like this. I would say like literally 40 to 50% of their books was just orphan after. Or maybe that's an exaggerated number, but a lot of books about orphan. Why? Now, what this Tamahu said in this 5-hour video is that at the time in their era, if you were a Caucasian woman and you had a baby out of wedlock, well, you would be ostracized, you would be treated like a pariah, you would be outed, told to get out of town, you wouldn't be able to get a job, they would look at you as a Jezebel, you were looked down upon, and it was just terrible for you. So he hypothesized, why then were there so many books about orphans and literal orphan children around the world in the early 1900s? Why? Where did all these children, these are Krakatoids I'm talking, with no mother and father, where did they come from? And of course, a Tamahu, this picture tickles me to no end. Oh, I'm pregnant. No father, woe's me. Let me cancel myself and my child. And the people in the upper right hand can't help her. Yeah, because it was the end of the world. So why would there be lots and lots of orphans if 99.999% of Caucasian women had to be married at the time or still be ostracized? So something is not adding up here. Okay, let us read. Premature babies were displayed at Lake Street Amusement Park. Premature babies would seem to be the least likely people to be part of a worldwide movement, yet the Wonderland babies were precisely that. A little tidbit about me: I live in Canada and close to Toronto, and we have this big amusement park. It's called Canada's Wonderland. So I always wonder, what are they wondering on the land? Well, the wonderland is that their mind is wondering what the heck is going on because they're new to the earth. And also, they always wonder and discover in strange places and in the woods because they're new to this. Okay, I'll elaborate later. In the yellow, they were among the 80,000 premature infants who were treated in amusement parks and fairs in Europe and the United States between 1896 and 1944. 80,000 premature babies in Europe and the United States. Now, I can understand 10,000 premature babies, maybe even 20,000 premature babies. That might fly. All right, we'll give them 30,000 premature babies in Europe and the United States in 1896 and 1944. But 80,000 premature babies? Something is not right. Something rotten in the cotton. Okay. Wonderland Amusement Parks, which was located at Lake Street at 31st Avenue, opened for business in late May 1905. Wonderland and other parks like it were part of America's love affair with technology and provided fairgoers with the opportunity to see the wonders of modern science in a carnival atmosphere. One of the wonders was the Infantorium, highlighted in yellow, a hospital like facility filled with incubators containing tiny babies who were born premature. In yellow, the babies were not advertised as entertainment, but rather as a scientific exhibit of the modern methods of saving the prematurely born babies. For a small fee, fairgoers could see the wonder of technology, a shiny glass and chrome incubator. At the time when fewer than 5% of all babies were born in hospitals, the opportunity to see a premature infant in an incubator was something worth paying. Now, before I move the slide on, you really think people are coming to see an incubator? Okay, because the last paragraph is a total insult to my intelligence. All right. So here's the doctor and the nurse, and these are the incubators, and you can't see it, but inside of those are little cracklets. Remember what I told you what I call them? These are little cracklets in the incubators. Okay. Here is a doctor holding up little premature cracklets. Now, remember the article said people are coming to see the incubators, the glass and the shiny chrome and everything. But here, the doctor's not holding an empty incubator to show it off. No, he's holding two cracklets. Why is he holding two premature cracklets? Okay. Some doctors and nurses, and it says Paul Affman's patent. I don't even know what that says. But yep, now they're standing beside some incubators and some little cracklets inside of there. Here's another doctor holding up a cracklet. Now you're wondering why in the early 1900s are they holding up cracklets? Okay. Here's another one. He brought an older boy to look at the little cracklet. The nurse, the man, the little cracklet in the incubator. It's fascinating, but yet they're supposed to be looking at the incubator. Okay. A bunch of rows, tons and tons of cracklets in the incubator. Here's one that says incubators. All the world loves, I guess the B word would be babies. So this is the fear where you pay your money to go see the little cracklets. Again, why would grown men want to look at premature so-called cracklets in incubators? Something's not adding up here. Now the photographer thinks he's so slick, covering a couple of letters. However, obviously it says infant incubators with living infants. Now here's the so-called nurse. She's feeding, and this silver thing that they have close to the baby's mouth, that's dangerous. Even though she's trying to control the flow of the milk. I mean, it could scrape the baby or whatever. These Krakatoids, they don't they don't have a love or compassion for babies. However, they're putting them on display in the early 1900s. So all of a sudden, all these little cracklets are just popping up all over the place like popcorn. Pop, 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 pop. Cracklets everywhere. No mother, no father, just cracklets, crack, 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 poppy pop, everywhere. And I purposely put these slides of how many of them just to drive home the fact that in the early 1900s, all these little babies without mothers and fathers, these cracklets popping up all over the place in these foundling orphanages, as they would have it. Now, this picture is eerie to me because they all look alike, and it's just weird. Okay. However, from the way the picture is, I could tell you that these, I guess, older cracklets are factory workers. These people have no compassion, no heart chakra love for their offspring. They just put them to work as soon as they're 8, 9, 10 years old. Put them to work in the factory. Time to go to work. Yep, just put them to work because there's so many of them. Why not just throw them out there? This one is so dangerous because no shoes, no protective helmet, yet and still they're supposed to be either cleaning or making something in the factory. I have no idea. But yeah, they put them in the factory to work. Say what you want about nine ethers, but we never did this, okay? That's why I always maintain there's a difference between us and them. They are not the same species as nine ethers. Yep, put them little cracklets to work because there's so many of them. Put them to work in the factories. Yep, it's lunchtime in the factory. Sorry, I'm trying to maintain decorum, but the idea of children working in factories as little as 7 and 8 years old, as if that's their wow. Okay, this what part of when did they tell you about this in school? I think they kind of alluded to it a little bit, but they didn't go into details. I mean, it was dang near all their little and these are orphans, by the way. The ones with the parents, they don't go in the factory. They took the orphans and put them in the factories. That's terrible. Even the older ones, they always have this lost look on them, like they're foreign to the earth. They just got here. They're like, what is this place? They have this, I don't know, weird look. So now in the 5 hour video, the Tamahu, he taught that different levels of the atmosphere have different gases. And so when the electromagnetic field mixes with the gases, that's when you see different colors. That is why you are able to see the sky as blue, because it has to do with the mixture of the plasma and the electromagnetic frequency. And wow, he really put it deep. So that's why at sunset you see the like purple in the sky and orange and yellow, all these blues and mixed up colors, because the electromagnetic field in the atmosphere is mixing with the plasma. Wow. And he's also pointing to the arrow. He's using the arrow to point and showing us, teaching us that the antennas are harnessing, pulling down energy to give as free energy to the rest of the city. All right. I am going to take a 2 minute break. I will be right back. Anyone who needs to go to the bathroom, grab something to eat, 2 minutes. It's 8:46 now. I'll be back. We'll give it 3 minutes. I'll be back at 8:49. I gotta take a much needed break. So 1 sec. I'll be right back. All right, I am back. Woo! Now, let's move on. So he goes ahead and he shows the moon. And I thought this was very fascinating because I used to study the moon, especially when it's so big. Firstly, for those of you who don't know, we are on a stationary realm that does, it's not round, it's not spinning. However, the stars above us are spinning and it's flat, motionless, and the moon and the sun are within our atmosphere. If that's a shocker to you, please go do your research on flat Earth. I do not have time. However, the moon is not a physical object, it's just a projection. However, this Tamahu, he zooms in and he shows you the pattern on the moon. Because I used to look at the patterns and I'm like, what is that? Some people say it's making a face or whatever, the face on the moon. But all these spots, I always wondered, my mind raced. What made the spots? Why are the spots there? Why are they shaped the way they are? Well, what he did was very clever because he took the image of the moon and what he did was he flipped it upside down. So I was like, okay, where are you going with that? Please do tell. Okay. So when he flipped it upside down, he compared it to a circle with land on it. Would you look at that? Is it starting to look kind of familiar? And don't assume that a circle is a globe. Just for all intents and purposes, just pretend that this is a bird's eye view. You're way above and you're looking down. Okay. There's no such thing as a sphere that things stick to. Water cannot stick to a sphere. Don't let them lie to you about this fictitious mystical gravity that they made up of out of thin air that does not exist. So getting back to this, I was like, okay, but I said to myself, that doesn't look like the globe Earth that they give everyone. Those lands look funny to me. Okay. Then he went ahead and did this. And this is where my mind was blown. I was officially mind blown. So let me break down what you are viewing. The Krakatoid in the 5-hour video was saying that this that you're looking at is the smaller circle is where you live. That's where you live. That's it. That's all. These are the countries. This is the water. That's everything. That's it. That's all, folks. So I was like, okay, well, what's that extra stuff? What is going on? I'm I'm kind of like, wow. So he's saying that the outer rims have much more land, and the moon is actually a map of the realm, the real realm in which we live. He was saying that the truth about where we live was always above us in the sky in the form of the moon this entire time. Oh, and by the way, the moon is not ancient. I'll get to that later on. So I said to myself, look at that. So yep, he basically said, you live in the circle part, okay, the very, very outer rim close to the parameter. You are not allowed to go. In fact, if you do your research, you research the Arctic Treaty. This is where all the countries got together in the early 1920s, I think, or 30s. Don't quote me on that. To say they're all going to protect the outer rim, call it Antarctica. Okay, there's no such thing as Antarctica. In fact, I highly doubt that there's an ice wall that these flat earthers keep showing. I just think it's just open land that Tamahu haven't gone, or they can't go, or maybe they have. There's so many questions. The truth of the matter is, we will never know. You will never know for sure. We can only hypothesize, speculate, and that's what I do. I do get a lot of spiritual downloads, and in my dreams, I do go to lands that don't look like they exist in the lands of what we know to be Earth. So maybe I have astral projected to these outer lands. You know what? It's so many questions roll around in my mind when I view this image. So yeah, no, I don't think so. You can't land on a light, a beam of light. So the whole thing, moon landing, sorry to burst your bubble if you believed it, nah, never happened. Foolishness. It was just studio camera trick, Hollyweird foolishness. So as he is explaining, he's showing the portion of, he's like, this is where this, Africa is, Europe is, China is. He's showing where it is in the craters of the moon projection. And oh my goodness, I'm like, wow. And he literally explained, he's like, okay, this is your realm. There is a source coil, a coil, like an electromagnetic coil around that's turning the actual dome with the lights stuck to it, and it's making, not the dome, it's turning the stars, the lights. It's going around and around in a circle. You can Google it on Google image, just put in Polaris, and then you'll see the circles. It just keeps going around. So there's, and he goes, it comes out of, you know this blue circle where it goes the known world. It comes out of the northern lights or something like that. The North Pole. Sorry, it comes out of the North Pole. This light, and so many questions like. This has Tamahu gone to there where the light come from? Do they know it? Like, do they know who put the light there? And oh my goodness, yeah, this is what you are seeing. This is real science. This is real fact. This is real unearthed hidden knowledge that's kept away from you. And I implore you to use this video to teach your babies, especially if you homeschool. Go ahead. I'm purposely not swearing in this video because I want this video to be taught to our nine ether youth. They have to get this information so they can pass it on to our future generation. We cannot lose this vital, important information. So he was mentioning about the black sun. Now, I've stated in my other videos, but I will repeat. Whenever you see a so-called solar eclipse, what it is Black Mama Sun coming out of her realm and covering over the artificial sun. And if you're shocked that the yellow sun in the sky is artificial, I'm here to tell you it's artificial. And she's covering it over to say, here I am. This is truly me. But of course, the Tamahu false narrative, the earth is spinning and the moon goes in front of the sun, and so that's what causes a solar eclipse. That's BS. Okay? So it's the orb, it's the black orb. And so the black sun is known by Tamahu in the know, the ones in the upper echelons of society. They are aware of the black sun. And so as you can see, they use it for their logo, like the Black Sun Society, that's a organization. The Thule Society, that's another organization. And even Hitler's swastika is a variation of the black sun. And the Tamahu was saying that there's supposed to be two orbs in the sky always, one with a positive and a negative charge, because it has something to do with the electromagnetic field. And so he was saying that the moon has a negative charge and the sun has a positive charge, and they both need each other, because they sort of give energy to the earth, but it's a light fixture, so I don't know how it could give energy to the earth. I don't know, there's something kind of not right there. I have more research to do in that regard. So this ice wall, like I said before, half of me says that it exists and half of me says that it doesn't. The half of me that says it exists, if it does exist, Tamahu put it there to keep nine ethers from going to our tropical lands beyond the ice wall, if it does exist. And if it doesn't exist, well, it's just nice and tropical in the so-called Antarctica. Remember, where they say Antarctica is the outer parameter of the circle realm that we're on. So there's no ice. You just keep going with your boat until you get to this beautiful tropical place with beautiful fruits and vegetables and exotic animals and great scenery, great clean water, clean air. Yeah. So now this is something. So they said that they found this globe, this old version of this globe, and Google Earth has it, I think. However, when you look at it, what pops out is that there's more land than water, as opposed to the globe that we are aware of, which with more water than land. That tells me that this Earth was, yeah, we had land, but then we got flooded. So the majority of the lands that you see are actually tops of land from before. The majority is underwater, and a lot of time who are going scuba diving and finding, buildings, whole buildings underneath water with treasures. Of course, they're tomb raiders. We know that. And they're finding statues and monuments and whole cities underneath the water. Well, that's because the water rose. So now I ask to myself, where did the water come from? I actually, and this is a speculation, I actually think it came from above the dome, where the waters of heaven are. There's like the force field, the glass, the molten glass, the firmament. I think water came in. Okay, because there is the Great Rift Valley in Africa. It's around Uganda's, and it's literally, they say it's a bunch of stars, but it looks like a crack in the dome. And I've always said to myself, if water were to ever come through, that's where it would come from. So this is just my speculation. I don't know where the water came from, but for some reason the water came and flooded. So to me, this is what it used to look like, mostly land with a little bit of water, as opposed to today, mostly water, a little bit of land. So when they take the globe and they stretch it out, this is so yeah, well, I wouldn't say mostly water. I think it's like 50% water, 50% land. But certainly more land than what we see today. And there's little dots. I think those are islands. So they stretch it out, they bend it, they fold it. Yeah, you see you're seeing lots of land. And then they form it in different shapes, and yeah, land upon land. And this is what they see when they make it into a flat surface. There's more land that I'm seeing than water. I don't know about you. So now he was talking about this clock. I forgot where he said it was, in Europe or somewhere, that it's called an astrological clock. And it not only tells the time, but it also tells the season, and it also tells your zodiac and everything like that. And he says, and this is a real clock, and you can see the statues beside it. He says this is them hiding truth in plain sight. Because if you see, when you go behind the hands of the clock, it shows the earth that he showed us earlier. However, he says that you are here, and he puts the arrow and shows you the little bit of space that you take up versus the more lands beyond where you are. And he shows the ruler to give you an idea of just how massive this realm really is. You know the song, It's a Small World After All? That's mind control programming, because it is a massive, infinite plane that we live on. All right, so that was my take on the Tamahu's video. Now let's talk about the Great Flood, because this is this is a thing, okay? So Tamahu want to say that there was a mud flood. That's how they explain the mud that I was talking about earlier. However, Tamahu are very low intelligent. Hello, the definition of flood is just water. That's it. Just water. That's all it is. When you have mud, it's a mixture of soil and water. And mud doesn't flood anything. I mean, you can have a mudslide. I mean, if they had said the great mudslide, I would give them a pass. But mud cannot flood anything. So they're saying that what happened at the end of 1800s was a great mud flood. What? This just proves how unintelligent they are. Remember the man that jumped with a curtain rod and some curtains looking thing off the Eiffel Tower and fell to his death? Yeah. Tamahu are very low intelligence. You need to know this. Their babies develop at a much slower rate than nine ethers, and by far our babies pick up their head, open their eyes, hold their bottles, speak, and look around and move and advance in their motor skills far more above the Mongoloid, Asiatic Mongoloid, and Caucasoid. Okay, so this is it. There was a great flood. And now look at the building to the left. Look how much of it is underwater. So you gotta, like, it's like an ocean just came down on us. Like many oceans came down. And the buildings you see are just the tip of the buildings that were. So in other words, we see these buildings as 100 feet tall, but these buildings were probably like 1,000 feet tall. Maybe I'm exaggerating, but these were massive buildings. But we just see the tip of them, and we think that that's the whole building. The rest of it is underground, underwater. I mean, look at it. And then this gives you an idea, okay, of the Great Flood. Like this is like, who could survive this? Yeah, who could survive? And then they make up the Noah's Ark foolishness. I mean, if you're taking two animals from everywhere in the world, what are you feeding the predators on the boat? Vegetables? You have to feed them the other animals. So at the end of your voyage, you would just be left with predators and no prey. The whole Noah's Ark thing is such an insult to our intelligence. However, it does have a nugget of hidden truth. It tells about the great flood, and there was a great flood, but there was no Noah's Ark. This is so silly. Yeah, a whole building under what, like, and I don't know if these are real pictures or if these are just a, I think it's a concept, an artist's rendition of what he hypothesizes the, the depths of the flood has done to the buildings. So this may be just concept images, but still, oh my goodness, we would have had to be giants. Okay, and notice the Tamahu put his hand as a giant. Yeah, I think there were Tamahu giants too. Very few of them, but they were. You would have had to be a giant to make such buildings. Okay, and I'm not talking 7 feet tall or 10 feet tall. 20 feet is not even a giant. I'm thinking like there are like 40, 50, 60 feet giants roaming about the place. Honestly, can you imagine? And so yeah, that's why they were able to build the pyramids, because they just picked them up like little little building blocks. That's, I mean, that's my speculation, my spiritual download. I'm thinking. So onto the fire from above. Now we spoke about water, but this information just came to me in the last week or two, and so Tamahu hit me to the fact that some of these buildings have burn marks and melt marks all over them, and this other Tamahu, not the 5 hour Tamahu, this other Tamahu's video that I watched put me hip to the fact that there was lightning striking, like, and he, now the funny thing is I'm the one that came up with the lightning. He just says there was a fire, and I kept saying, fire? You can't, if there's a flood, how can there be a fire? The water would put out the fire. But I know where there's an instance where there can be something that causes a fire along with water, and that's a lightning storm. In a lightning storm, you have a mixture of lightning and water. So, yeah, along with the flood, things got burnt out. Okay? Let me play this video. Things got burnt. Like, so this is a Tamahu video. The one on the right clearly was made by a 9 ether. The one on the left is clearly made by Tamahus. Look how simplistic the Tamahu's version of a building is. Look how basic, and their version of buildings suck energy. It costs you lots of money to make the electricity for the building on the left. However, the building on the right has antennas, and it harnessed energy from the atmosphere and gave free energy to its people that lived within a 100-mile radius. How brilliant were our night ethers? They were absolutely brilliant. And look at the design, the intricacy on the building. Now, this is a video that you're actually watching, and the mouse moving is not me. It's the Tamahu in the video. And he's just making mention of the old verses. Whoops, let's go back. So he's just talking about these buildings, and he was saying, yeah, here we go. So he's showing images of the fact that there was a fire. He's saying that these look like melted ice cream, but these little mud things were buildings, were houses of people that were made of brick, and it just melted like ice cream against this fire. And he's showing all the tops of these houses, these buildings that were made of brick, and how they melted. And I have to agree, they do look like they were melted, like they were burnt. And he said, like, you could see some flowing, like as if it was flowing down melting ice cream. It looks, but he's saying that all mountains are ancient buildings. And you know what? That resonates with me. All mountains are ancient buildings. And I always said to myself, what the heck is a desert? Why is there an open land with no purpose? Well, come to find out that this is the sand that blew in from all the buildings that were destroyed in the great cataclysm. So he's saying that just like lava, the heat that came down in the cataclysm melted these majestic buildings and melted them. They just went down. See, he's showing this clump that looks like melted rock was actually a building that melted in the intense heat. So I'm thinking the lightning struck and made a big fire, and then melted all these buildings down. But what can melt brick and marble and all of that? I don't know. But whatever it was really, really, really hot. Okay. Maybe the lightning theory doesn't, because now that I'm my eyes beholding it, it looks like a fire, like a fire. You see, deserts are the debris from the burnt buildings. Like it's just because you can get sand from brick. So I'm just gonna quickly go through this because he keeps showing. So he's saying there was a fire. He said okay, from above, what you're looking at is actually melted buildings. Like it looks like flowing ice cream. So whatever happened melted the heck out of these buildings, and then the water came and cooled it down, so they froze as mountains. But he was saying that no, there was actually fire from above. Look at this. He's showing you. Oh my goodness. This is like fascinating stuff. Like he's showing it looks like melting or charring of like these so yeah, and I'm just gonna like fast forward. Yeah, so he's saying underneath the sea, they're finding whole cities underneath the sea. Like it's just, and why would someone design something to just go on the bottom of the ocean? No, it was when the flood came and covered these cities over. And see, they don't talk about this much, and I don't think they talk about it at all in so-called school. So, yeah, he's showing you the rocks are just buildings that melted. So, I'll just go through quickly for the sake of time. This is a long presentation. He was saying that his Tamahu melted in the stone. Peep game, okay? Bone doesn't melt, it disintegrates. So, a lot of what he's showing is fake images, but whatever. Jedi mind tricks, the typical Tamahu. Come on, really? They're doing so much to try to put themselves in ancient times. They are doing the most. The most, the most, the most. But they are not ancient. They are not ancient. Nope. They weren't here. Okay? He's showing you that, yeah, it looks like melted buildings just melted into the. So here he's talking about the flood and how, it looks like there was mud that came up to a certain level, which we know, but it's not a mud flood. It was just a mud that came up based on the. Oh, he's showing himself touching. I wouldn't play his voice because it's very raspy, and he refinishes. So this is fascinating. He was showing these doors. This is why I said that the giants were like 40, 50 feet. Okay, who would go through that door? Okay, now Jedi mind tricks again. I'm debating whether they were Tamahu giants, but anyways, this is a giant woman. I'm debating whether they actually existed really. Okay, but he's showing, and um, he's talking about these statues of these animals with these human heads. Now, I don't know. Did you really think there were half human, half animals? And some of them had wings? Did they really exist? Ah, he's showing the ones with the elephant heads. Maybe they were just like a depiction, like a maybe a representation, but he's literally teaching that they actually existed. I don't know. I'm I'm debating about that. Let's see here. He's showing some monsters on the sides of buildings, and a lot of this we carved. Okay, nine ethers. So just remember, you carved this stuff. This is in your bloodline. Okay, so let's move on. The yellow brick road. Hmm. Why are the bricks yellow and why are they on the road? Okay. The Wizard of Oz. Follow the yellow brick road. What? The yellow brick road? Why is there yellow bricks on the road? This is what this is the question I asked myself as a child. Okay? Now you might think I'm off topic, however, stay with me. So of course the yellow brick road comes from the Wizard of Oz. Now if you look at the word Oz, O-Z, O represents the circle of the realm, the stationary realm that you are in, and the Z is in the shape of a snake, which means that this realm is being ruled by this reptilian, low vibration, low frequency entity. So there are so many versions of Oz. I mean, cartoons and books and plays and TV shows. They must be trying to tell us something because Tamahu did not put their effort into making 50 versions of one story if they weren't trying to send us a message? I wonder what that message is. Now, as a child, I watched this show called The The World of Oz. And this is, I hope I don't get a copyright ding. This is the theme song. I'm play it. So, anyways, the lyrics of the theme song goes, there are three sad souls, oh me, oh my, no brain, no heart, he's much too shy. But never mind you three, there's a wizard as you can see. He'll fix that one, two, three in the funny place called the world of Oz. Now notice they don't say the Wizard of Oz, they say the world of Oz. Oh, the world of Oz is a very funny place where everyone wears a funny, funny face. All the streets are paved with gold, and no one ever grows old. In that funny place lives the Wizard of Oz. Now, funny in this context, as I've come to decode, discern, and decipher, means strange, means foreign, means a sort slightly unknown or never seen before. So let's just see this little theme song. I don't want to get a ding, but let's see. I don't know if you can hear it. Can you hear it? I grew up on this.
There are three sad souls, oh me, oh my, no brains, no heart, he's much too shy. But never mind you three, here's the wizard as you can see. He'll fix that one, two, three, in the funny place called the world of Oz. Oh, the world of Oz is a
Notice the
very
owls,
funny place where
the O was a
everyone
swirl, and there's swirls on the
all the
cheeks.
streets are paved with gold, and no one
A
ever
rainbow,
grows old. In that
the
funny
plasma.
land lives the Wizard of Oz.
So, yeah, this was my. I don't know if you. I don't know if this was in America because I'm here in Canada. This was my Saturday, part of my Saturday morning mix. Now, the funny, I was a child in the 80s. This cartoon came out in 1961. There were a few cartoons that and shows that came out in the 60s that they brought back in the 80s. Now, when they bring back shows like that, what they're trying to do is send a clear message to the new generation. I remember the show they brought back was the Flintstones. That's from the 60s. I watched that in the 80s. The Jetsons, that was from the 70s, I think. I watched it in the 80s. The Black and White Addams Family was in the 60s. I watched it in the 80s. And of course, this one, Wizard of Oz, this came out in 61. I watched this in the early 80s. So, they're trying to tell you something. Now, pay attention to the words that I highlight in yellow. They're three sad souls. Oh me. Oh my. 90th woman and child. Sad, sad souls. Look at what you're doing. Look at what you've become. So obedient, never questioning anything, never researching. The poor child has no role model. She just has to have her nose covered by someone who's supposed to protect her life, and this person is helping to take it slowly away. No brain, no heart. He's much too shy, which is a sugar-coated way to say, such a coward. Upper left-hand corner. You have no brain. If you're going to do this to a child, you are supposed to be Mother Nature. Your Mother Nature instinct is to protect the child, is to contribute to their life, to their health, to their safety, to their comfort. Putting something over a child's mouth and nose is child abuse. And if you give an poison into the arm of a child, that is also child abuse. Yes, we all inoculated our babies. We didn't know better. Okay, I have one daughter, she's 28. Yes, she got her inoculation. When I was a child, I got my inoculation. But this thing in 2021 that started a year and almost 2 years ago is different than what any one of us ever had. Okay, you know what it is. I'm not going to go into too much details because I don't want the U-Turds AI to snag my wording. However, yeah, the middle one, oh, no heart. Where is Mr. Father of the family? Missing in action. Oh me, oh my. No heart. You are not even in the picture. Just a outline, just a shadow. And of course, he's much too shy. Yep, in the bottom, Mr. Big and Bad. He'll take a gun and he'll shoot his fellow night ether, but when it comes to fighting against oppression, he is I guess, MIA, just like the one in the middle there. This is what we have become. And listen, this is tough love, okay? And I'm not saying all. However, we have to hold a mirror up to ourselves and see where we came from and look at ourselves today and really reflect on what we have become as a Nine Ether Nation. So, but never mind you three, which is talking to the three nine ether, the Father, Mother, Child, or the Holy Trinity. These words are for the Holy Nine Ether Trinity. But never mind you three. There's a wizard, as you can see. He will fix that. One, two, three. What do we got here? Krakatoa Jesus, some presidents, and some Faucis and some Bill Gates. Oh, never mind. To the rescue comes the savior. The wizard will fix it. One, two, three. In that funny place called the world of Oz. Oh, the world of Oz is a very funny place where everyone wears a funny, funny face. A funny face? Well, let's see. Tartaria. What color is tar? Okay, so you're gonna smear something on your face to mimic tar, to mimic the Tartarians, therefore verifying and validating that the Tartarians were the color of tar and not the color or the hue of you. Okay, a funny place, Tartaria. A funny face, a melanated, darker hue face. Got it. Message received. Now, I did some research and I'm trying to figure out, okay, well, who's Dorothy? What's Dorothy? Like, what does she represent? So let's read. Dorothy is clearly an orphan, and I'll tell you why. It's also possible that auntie and uncle are affectionate terms for a foster family and that Dorothy is not related to either of them, although Zeb in Dorothy, the Wizard of Oz, claims to be Dorothy's second cousin, related through Auntie M. Little mention is made of what happened to Dorothy's birth parents other than a passing reference to her mother being dead. So Dorothy in the Wizard of Oz is an orphan, just like the many Krakatoa orphans I was showing you earlier. Okay, an orphan. Now, upon doing further research, here we'll read the last line here. Unable to pay mortgage in their house in Kansas, Dorothy's best friend, Princess Ozma, ruler of Oz, officially makes her a princess of Oz later in the novel. So, as you see, I highlighted in green, Oz is the O and the Z, which is the circle, which is the circular realm, the physical realm, and the Z represents the snake, the low vibration entity that's ruling over the power that ought not be. Now, if you break the word down into two syllables, you get Oz, which is where you are, and the ruler, the power that ought not be, and Ma, Nine Ether, Mama God. So this Ozma is Nine Ether Mama God, who's supposed to be ruling Oz, or probably is the overlooker of Oz in the heaven realm. But definitely Ozma is a two-syllable word with a hidden message that I decoded, discerned, and deciphered. All the streets are paved with gold, and no one ever grows old. In that funny place lives the Wizard of Oz. Yeah, because the neuromelanin that nine ethers have, it is the fountain of youth. You hear my voice, you probably think I'm in my 20s. Little do you know that I'm almost half of 100 years old. And if you ever saw my likeness, I could easily pass for 29 or 30 at the most. No wrinkles have I, no gray hairs have I. Smooth skin like butter. So this is what our Tartarians were like. They were strong. They lived to be 200 and 250 years old. Some of us were regular size giants, like 10, 20 feet. Some of us were bigger giants, like 40 and 50 feet. We were a sight to behold. Can you imagine the Tamahu coming upon a land of tarred-faced Tartarians? And some of them were 40 feet tall. I'm sorry. All the streets were paved with gold. Okay, follow me. Even though I'm referencing the Wizard of Oz, I'm going somewhere with this. Really? All the streets were paved with gold and no one ever grows old. All the streets were paved with gold. Wait a minute. So in the 5-hour video. The Tamahu broke down the science of how you can use coils and magnets to and wires and make your own electricity. In fact, in the video, he showed his Tamahu in the woods watching TV with no cord whatsoever. He just rigged an antenna, some coils, some magnets, and boom, he got free energy. So he also made mention of mercury and all the elements and how we use them to be in the building, actually mixed into the infrastructure of the building, and that helped to harness the energy. So he said to the audience not to be scared of mercury, though it is poisonous. It was used for a certain purpose, and all metals are really useful. I mean, all metals can be very harmful if if you intake it or what have you. But mercury and gold, these were metals to help to harness energy. So it got me thinking, well, when these buildings harness energy with the antennas and drew them down, what the heck drew the energy to the houses? Follow me. Nine Ethers, you are Tartarian, and all your streets in Tartaria were paved in gold. That's what Wizard of Oz was trying to tell you. Your houses, some of them were made with stones and diamonds and rubies and emeralds, hence the Emerald City. Okay? You had diamonds and rubies and emerald buildings, and also all these buildings harnessed the energy to give you free energy, and your streets were paved with gold. Now you see, when I discovered, when this download, and nobody told me this, the 5-hour Tamahu didn't tell me about the streets were paved with gold. I figured it out on my own. So when I figured this out, I was like, wait a minute, that's why at the beginning of the 19th century there was a gold rush. Because what happened was, I don't know if it was the beast that ruled the earth, but they stripped the streets of all its gold. And I think some of them is in the Smithsonian and in the Buckingham Palace and underground somewhere being hidden. However, there were little nuggets of residue of the streets that was left behind. So this, hence the gold rush. And then the poor Tamahu would go with their little pan and they would go on the river and pick up little bits and pieces of gold. And they would get rich off of finding gold and what have you. This is why in the last 20 years there was this push for cash for gold. Tamahu on TV, bring us your gold and we'll give you cash. Because they want to get rid of all the gold that Nine Ethers used to wear. I mean, in the 80s, we were dripping in gold chains. I had a grape earring. I had the Queen Nefertiti gold earring. I had a gold chain. I had a gold bracelet. I even had gold chain around my ankles. I was gold. Now, where do you see where do you see Nine Ethers dripping in gold like that? You don't anymore. They took it away. But the question remains is, why did they take it away 20 years ago? To me, there's something about gold. First of all, you need to understand and understand we have gold particles within our DNA. I think there was something about the gold that protected Nine Ethers, along with their melanin, protected them from electromagnetic radiation. Because you gotta put two and two together. All these buildings are harnessing electricity. Wouldn't we be zapped and microwaved somehow? However, we were smart enough to put structures or put safeguards in place so that we would be safe and healthy. And I think it had to do with the gold. I'm not exactly sure how. I think the gold brought electricity, but I also think it also protected us in some way, and that's why we wore so much of it. So in the 80s, when we were dripping in gold, that was what? DNA memory. Okay? These celebrities were trying to tell us something. They were trying to send a message to our pineal. They were trying to wake up our DNA memory. And so lately, you know, in the 2021, that you hardly see rappers with gold as much as, I mean, in the 80s they overdid it. Now they got the diamonds, a little bit of gold, but not as much as in the 80s. So yeah, our streets were paved for gold in Tartaria. Tartarians are black people, period. Okay? There's no ifs, ands about it. We are black people. Tartarians are the black people. I mean, look at the first syllable, tar. I mean, pretty self-explanatory. Okay? These are the Tartarians. Matter of fact, we are not only Tartarians, we are indigenous to every land, even the land beyond the one that we have access to. Okay, you need that melanin, and UVA and UVB are good for us. 9 ethers do not wear sunscreen. That is nonsensical. You are putting a cancer-causing chemical on your person's, your body, needlessly, senselessly, because you have the power to harness the energy from the atmosphere and turn it into something healing for your body and your mind. Do not wear sunscreen. Let me pause and check the chat. I'm trying to not ignore you guys here. Well, we were hardly people during that time. Oh, blah, blah, blah. I don't think all races were ever one. Oh no, honey. Some races were created for what reason? I don't know. Okay, I'll get to that in a minute. Watching babies in the incubators for entertainment. Wow, insane on so many different levels. I'm sorry. That tickles me to no end. Totally agree. We all used to be one red, blue, green, yellow man. Perhaps. Oh, wait. Who is this? Oh no. No, honey. Get out of here. We all used to be one. Nope. We all did not. There are only four phenotypes: Africoid, Mongoloid, Caucasoid, and Mongoloid Asiatics. There are only four, and if you're a mixture, you're a hybrid. And it's your mother and father that determines your race. So, not Kogan, whoever, yeah, miss me with that. Yes, Nanitha, babies are more our babies are more intelligent. That's why they tried to vaccinate 9 ethers. Absolutely. God forbid the 9 ether built the Vatican. But no, remember, yes, we did build the Vatican, but we didn't build it for it to be a house for these low vibration beasts that are raping babies. We didn't build it for that. Obviously, we built it for something else, but they repurposed it as they did with all the other buildings. Moving right along. Let's see here. The motherboard. Now this here is mind blowing. I mean, wow. Okay, the motherboard. So I'm sure a lot of you have heard. Yeah, we live in a computer simulation, quote unquote. And to a certain extent, we sort of do with you being always with your Android, your iPhone, we're on the laptop. But is what you're touching really real? Because your mind only feels it because when your fingertip touches it, it sends sensory sensors to your brain to tell you that surface is hard. But if the sensors weren't there, is the object really real? So the computer simulation thing, like in the Matrix, I don't know about that. However, the motherboard. What is a motherboard? A motherboard is that a board, inside a computer with all the chips and the wires, that houses everything that gives the device the energy that it needs to run. So there's this interesting theory. I'm going to play, this is an actual video. I'm going to play it where if you look at the right and the left video images, he's literally saying that this entire Earth realm is a motherboard. And now listen to the first word in that mother. Okay? Mother Nature, motherboard. So it definitely drives home the fact that Earth is a melanated female, because when you take dirt up, it is dark. Okay? However, look at those two pictures. One is of a city and the other is a close up of a motherboard in a computer. And they look so similar. So I'm gonna let him, he's the one moving the mouse. This is an actual video. So he's saying that, yeah, this is like an actual um computer board. So the streets were made to bring the energy similar like a motherboard on a computer would bring signals to different parts of the computer. So, oh my goodness, it's fascinating. I can't. Why can't I move this? I'm trying. Uh-oh. Come on. Oh, here we go. Oh, it's because of this. Yeah, okay, let me move it forward and just because wow. So yeah, he's showing different cities. They look like computer pieces. So all this is like look at that. And these are like if you really look at it from the, and then he said the mountains melted because of the fire, maybe, but then these lines look like pieces of a motherboard. Like, look, it's, I cannot deny what he's saying is true because my eyes see it looks like a motherboard. So it's not that you live in a computer simulation per se, you live on a computer. This is a massive, or I should say, was meant to be a massive computer. However, it also brings energy to different sections, electricity to different sections. And he's showing all these pieces. Look at that. It's a computer piece, but it's an aerial shot of the land. It's a part in a motherboard. Look. Oh my. This video, and again, I wouldn't play his voice because his voice is, he's got Smoker's voice, and um, yeah, he's showing all these antennas, these pieces. These buildings look like pieces from a motherboard. And I'm not going to say the name of the Tamahu or any Tamahu, not even the one from the 5 hour video, because I don't promote anyone's video. It doesn't matter your phenotype. I just don't promote other people. Other people don't promote me, so I'm not going to promote other people. But yeah, he's saying, look at the intricate. I mean, I could, I'm not going to play all of his stuff, but he's right. Look at this. One is of the city and one is of the motherboard on a computer. This is a computer, but it looks like the Twin Towers. This is a close-up shot of a computer inside of it, but it looks like a cityscape. My goodness. The creator, 9 Ether Mama God, is the most brilliant of the most brilliant of the most brilliant of the most brilliant to infinity. Yep, those are pieces of, so we are on, let me see if I can fast forward to, so he's showing these pieces. They look like, I mean, this is undeniable what you're seeing. One is of a city on the left, and the right is of an actual computer close-up. I mean, you interchangeable. All right, so let's move on. That was amazing, honestly. So this is a motherboard. So I try to, always get a little bit more. I mean, I've heard the word motherboard, but I needed to know what it was. So a motherboard is a computer motherboard is located inside the computer case and is where most of the parts of the computer peripherals connect. With tower computers, the motherboard is on the left or right side of the tower and is the biggest circuit board. And those are the components of a motherboard. So wow, it's very intricate. Technology and how it's dispersed worldwide. Well, they just give you trickles of technology. Like I always say, version 1, version 2, by the time you get to version 10, couldn't you just have released version 10 and just be done with it? Why you gotta like update my phone to to some updates every couple weeks, every 3 weeks? Why you gotta come out with a new version of a device? Couldn't you start off with the most advanced one? No. So there's a misconception that we are advancing with technology, that the people before us were primitive, and that where we're going to is going to be more advanced than where we came from. So this is the reason why the powers that ought not be, they disperse technology in such little increments every year. In terms of cars, every 3 weeks they're upgrading our cell phones. Every couple years they come out with a new phone device version. They're trying to give the illusion that they're going closer to advanced technology. However, nothing could be further from the truth, because in the days of Tartaria, and I'm talking 5, 6, 7,000 years ago, we had cell phones, we had planes, we had electricity, we had cars, we had TVs, we had laptops, we had computers, we had everything that we have today. However, on a more advanced level. These technologies that we have are regurgitated technologies that are made very flimsy, sort of like the dollar store version of technology is what we have, compared to our ancient 9 Ether ancestors. And I've always said in my previous videos, the ones before us were far more advanced. And I will add, far more healthier, and of course they lived 3, 4, and 5 times longer than we did. So since our lifespan is so short and it's getting shorter year by year, then your mind, your brain should put together the fact that whatever is going on in society is not good for us. And we are not going towards something good or something advanced. We're going towards something primitive and something not so good and low vibration, low frequency. So that is the reason why they disperse technology out in little increments. It's to give your mind, plant that seed that we're going to something towards something better, something more advanced. That is not true. Okay? That big square phone on the left, they could have easily started out with the skinnier one. Nope. They purposely made it big and bulky and hot because I remember it used to burn my cheek. Okay? And the buttons used to go boop, boop, boop every time. And it was so hot. And then eventually they got to the thin, flat one that you have today. Nope. They had the technology in their back pocket, but they just dispersed it. And the ones that they call themselves the government and the upper echelons of society, they have advanced technology. They have access to advanced technology, and they give us the scraps, the little breadcrumbs. So this is a, I guess, conceptualized version of what a high-tech advanced city should be. It's a concept photo. However, I chose it because if you're talking about technology, in my mind, this is what Tartaria would have looked like. And there's no pollution here. Everything is clean energy. And what you can't see is the people in the buildings, and the people on the streets have access to fruits and vegetables. I think you can see little pockets of green. They have free food, free electricity, free energy. They can hop on a plane anytime they want. They can travel to any land they want. They can eat and sleep whenever they want. They can do whatever they want, wherever they want. They have lamps and computers and cell phones and TVs and every electronic device you could ever think of, maybe even robots, who knows, right? This was 1,000, 2,000, 5 years, 500, 5,000 years back to infinity. Okay, this is what the powers that ought not be don't want you to know. That our ancients, first of all, they built similar buildings to what you're looking at that harnessed energy and gave free electricity to everyone on the land. And secondly, free, we were just free. We were free to roam about the land and do whatever we want. We owned wherever we wanted to own, and we lived in harmony. I'm sure there were little pockets of uprisings here and there, but for the most part, everything was equilibrium. I'm trying to extract the word harmony out of my vocabulary because I don't like the word harm there, and I don't like the word money there. And I'm also trying to extract balance because you should never lance your bal, which is your soul, and lance means to kill. So my new word now is equilibrium. I want equilibrium of my mind, my body, and my soul. And in this society, what I'm looking at, it seems they had tons of equilibrium. We were giants. As I said it before, we were massive, and those buildings had massive doors. Now, when you see pictures like this, that woman looks like about maybe 8 feet tall, maybe. These men look like 7, 8 feet tall. Just know that having a pituitary gland imbalance, I shouldn't even use that word, a defect, I should say, does not mean you're a giant. So a lot of Tamahu will show themselves as 7 feet, 8 feet tall. That's not a giant. That's a person with a pituitary gland that is active, overactive, and is causing, wreaking havoc, and it's giving them their body a lot of growth hormones, and so they're growing to 7 and 8 feet tall. That is not a giant. A giant back in the days of Tartaria, was 20, 30, and 40 feet in height, and could pick up components of a building like if it was a Lego. Okay, so these are not giants you're looking at, but it's interesting how Tamahu tried to make themselves. And yes, our ancients did have depictions of giants. I know they did. For all intents and purposes, I'm sorry, but they're still not giants. To me, you don't hit giant level until you reach 20, yeah, I would say 20 feet or more. That's a giant. Anything under 20 feet, you have some kind of imbalance. I mean, a 15 feet tall person you could technically say is a giant, but is not a someone who's 15 feet is not big enough to pick up the top of a building like if it was a Lego. You know what I'm saying? So it would have to be a giant. And they had different sizes. And the jury's still, I think maybe there were Tamahu giants. I don't know. The jury's still out in my mind. I'm debating. So when you see the Olmec heads, oh yes, this was a typical head. And it was probably even twice, 2 or 3 times big. And can you imagine the size of the body that this head would have to sit on? So the Olmec heads are alluding to the fact that nine ethers with the big nose and the big mouth, we were giants. Can you imagine Tamahu crawling out the caves and seeing all these giant nine ethers about the place? So yeah, we a lot of giants. How to keep how they keep nine ethers dumbed down. So everything that I'm sharing with you, you'll never get it in the education system, so to speak. They won't show it to you on TV. Most books will not talk about everything that you've just seen. You have to really go digging for it. So they keep you nice and dumbed down in society and distracted so you don't have time or energy to go do your research and find all of this out. Well, there are a lot of things that keep us dumbed down: work, religion, sports, but none, in my humble opinion, is a more lethal weapon against your mind, body, and soul than that television. This is the most lethal weapon that you have against your family, against your mind, in your household that you currently have possession of as I speak. For it goes into the mind. That's why it's called entertainment. Ment is Latin for the mind. It enters your mind. And it hypnotizes you, it puts you under a spell, it puts you under a trance. To so much so that based on the words coming out of this idiot box, you literally go to the doctor or a building and have them shoot a V inside your arm that is going to eventually kill you and your children in less than 3 years. That is how much this rectangle idiot box has you under a spell. Versus where we came from. My, how we have fallen. Was it on purpose? Was it by accident that we fell? Nothing is inadvertent. Everything is planned. In order for the god to rise, she must fall. Her society she created must fall in order for it to rise. When you're at the bottom, there's only one way to go, and that's to the top. It's a perpetual cycle. I think I was telling someone in the chat, it is a perpetual cycle. It never ends. We rise, we fall. We rise, we fall. That's it. We rise, we fall. And it continues to infinity. So everything that's happening, don't fret, don't worry, don't stress over it. It's designed to happen. Whatever will be. Live and let live. I don't preach hate towards any phenotype. I just merely tell them who they are. Take it or leave it. And yeah. So why events are unfolding the way they are? Well, you see this picture? This picture sums up everything. The Krakazoid is literally trying to erase the past and rewrite his story. And that's what he does. When he gets to a point where his population is low because his females and his males aren't having babies, the homosexuals, and they're having all sorts of cracker related diseases, and they're offing themselves and they're taking drugs, and their population is much lower than the nine ether population. Whenever the Tamahu sees the population of their kind becoming very low, he does this worldwide thing where he beats Mama God to her worldwide cataclysm. He tries to fast forward and accelerates the destruction of society and then resets it again so that he can reap the reward of living his and her Krakatoid heaven on earth while we sit in the church and clap and pray to a fictitious Jesus that never existed. You see the trick? And they tell us that the red man is the original, aboriginal. Nah, I need to make mention, ab means not. So aboriginal, red man, you are not. And the reason why you are stricken with drugs and alcohol is because your conscience is eating away at you because your ancestors told you who came before you, and they are black as night with the biggest of afros, okay? So the reason why I mentioned that is because the Tamahu has designated the title of original, aboriginal, to the red man. Then, what he's done to the real original, which are the nine ethers, he brainwashed us and gave us a Krakatoid messiah, and then brainwashed us through school and gave us books that had lies in it, and showed us television shows that had lies in it, and brainwashed us so that we think that we are lesser, we're inferior, we believe in quote unquote slavery. We will watch TV, and so because a cracker is on Krakatoid is on television, we'll run and get a poison in our arm that we know we shouldn't be getting. And yeah, he put himself in the society as the Wizard of Oz. So this is Oz. We are in the world of Oz, the land of Oz, and the Krakatoid is our so-called savior. He is there to tell us what to do because we don't know what to do. We need a Krakatoid to always tell us what to do. We don't have a mind of our own. We need a leader that is a Krakatoid, and the Krakatoid is superior to us in every way, shape, or form. Let me remind you once again, my nine ether people, from whence you came. Okay? This is you. Okay, not hanging from a tree. That's not your legacy. I'm not denying the fact that a handful of nine ethers got lynched, and that's not the point. The point is this worldwide logistics of everyone, every time who on the earth organizing these boats coming over and putting nine ethers here in the Americas. Nah, logistically it couldn't happen. It would be a 6 month voyage one way. I mean, come on. And then hanging us and beating us. Well, what's the sense of harming your machine because they had us like machines working? What's the sense of breaking your machine? If you break the machine, it wouldn't work. There's so many illogical things about slavery that I know it just never happened the way they said it did. We came from greatness. But here we sit and we watch television. So the Tamahu is erasing our memory. And I want you to pay very close attention to that stone carving on the right. What do you see? Because for those of you, they're showing a laptop, yo. They're showing a laptop in ancient time. Now, whether this carving is true or false, the message is loud and clear. We had laptops. 100,000, 1,000. We had laptops. We had computers. Why wouldn't the people who knew how to harness free energy not make gadgets that ran from free energy? That's a rhetorical question because we did have lots of gadgets. On the left, you are seeing where they're putting the two Tamahu in Tartaria, the blue headscarf there in the middle. Nah, Tamahu, you're not Tartarian. Ah, no. So this is what. Okay, so this slideshow came from a free slideshow I got offline, and these are the templates. So they're saying this is classic architecture. No, these are Tartarian architectures, but they're claiming it to be made by Tamahu. Okay, so that's fine. That's a slide. So let's read what did they explain? Because I'm trying to figure out how do they explain these ancient buildings. Okay, what is classic? So classic is a form of architecture. They're saying this is what they teach in university. This is what they teach in their architecture book. Classic architecture, the architecture of ancient Greece and Rome, especially from the 5th century BCE in Greece to the 3rd century CE in Rome, that emphasized the columns and pediments. Greek architecture was based chiefly on the post and beam system, with lines carrying the load. Timber construction was suspended by buildings in marble and stone. How did you lift marble and stone in horses and carriages? The line, a unit human in scale, was employed as a model for all the temples relationships. Sorry. The Doric order, probably the earlier, remains the favorite of the Greek mainland western colonies. The iconic order developed in the Eastern Greek on the beach. It was used chiefly for small temples and interiors. Both Doric and Ionic orders are present in the Athenians, Oropolis, the most significant Greek architecture achievement. What? They used this as a temple? Nah, we didn't build a magnificent building like this to be a temple. So guess what? Build back black? Build back better? No, built by blacks. Okay, we built it. It's ours. We did that. Okay, I don't care how you try to explain it in your fancy architecture book. It was built by Nine Ether. We built that. Yep. Celebrate. Get down, get up. Okay. Built by blacks. That's all that mumbo jumbo really is trying to hide. The fact that we built it, that's what they're trying to hide. They can't explain it. You had horses and carriages. How can you move huge marble slabs? You can't explain it. Okay, now they're talking about classic architecture, more classic architecture, but it's built by us. Okay, it's built by blacks. So forget about build back better. I got three B's for you. This is alliteration when your word starts with the same letter. I got three words for you. Built by blacks. And I don't like you to use the word black, but it rhymes. So, as you can see, now they're talking about classic architecture and they're answering some questions. Who invented it? Classic architecture refers to the style of buildings initially created by the ancient Greeks and Romans, especially between the 5th century BC and the Greece and the 3rd century AD in Rome. When was it? Classic architecture started when formal writing was created. There is no specific dates to when classic architecture created or ended. Wow. Why was it important? This type of architecture was either for one or two things. One was the reason the house were built were for a basic needed. Oh, they made a typo here. Well, you know what all of that translates to? Built by blacks. We built it. Don't try to hide it. Now, this is what happens when Tamahu tries to modernize the building. To me, this is an eyesore. It looks like two discarded giant cigarettes. But let's see what their definition of modern architecture is. What is modernism? In architecture, it's defined as design communication with an emphasis on form rather than ornament. Excuse me, ornament is what we are as Nine Ether. We are the fancy ornament people. Structure and material rather than picturesque. Excuse me. Nine Ethers love things that are picturesque. We are of nature. Okay? So they're saying they're doing the architecture, the building minus ornament, meaning minus anything fancy or beautiful or elegant or graceful, and minus anything picturesque. So nothing that your eyes will love to look at. It's just there for being their sake. And and rational and effective use of space. Wow. The modern movement in architecture in the United States increased beginning in the 1930s. It encompasses individual design actions that express modern ideas in different ways, including the international expressionism, brutalism, and formalism, and goody actions, technical innovations, yeah, right, experimentation, and rethinking the way humans lived in and handled design environment, whether structure or landscape, were hallmarks of modern architecture. Really, your hallmarks of modern architecture? You know what I say to that? That's what I say to you, Krakatoids, saying that you are hallmarks of modern architecture. Those buildings are an eyesore. Those buildings are an eyesore. They don't look good. They're plain. They're not fancy. To me, they ruin the whole skyline. And this is what happens when you leave Tamahu to make buildings. These buildings are not harnessing energy. They cost. So I would imagine a building like this to be $2-3 million a month in energy bills just to run. Okay? These buildings are succubus. They make you poor by having to take your hard-earned money, these houses that we live in, these apartments that we live in, and pay towards electricity, pay electricity. And this makes me mad because I know that electricity can be harnessed and obtained free of charge. So, yeah. So, this clearly is built by buffoons because I'm trying to clearly built by buffoons. Okay, it's not fancy. It's not highly advanced in its technology. It doesn't harness energy to give the city folks that live around free energy like Nine Ether buildings. So, and that word skyscraper, always, I never liked that word because I don't want anything to scrape the sky. That just, like fingernails on the blackboard. But yeah, these buildings, these so-called modern buildings, they're terrible. Like, look at them. This is what's considered modern architecture when you allow Tamahu on their own to reverse engineer the way we build things. And because they can't build the buildings as advanced as we nine ethers could build it, they build it kind of basic looking. They look like Kleenex boxes. One at the top look like a soccer ball. This one looks like mangled metal in the bottom right. The other ones at the top look like three, I don't know, tall glasses just standing with something balancing over. I mean, they're eyesores. They're not pretty, they're not elegant, they're not beautiful, and they're not practical because they make you waste energy and use energy and have to pay for energy that you could get for free if the building would only harness the energy. So yeah, eyesore. Built by buffoons, okay? Those buildings are not great like Tartarian buildings. Oh my gosh, who developed it? Listen, I won't even have to go in all of that. It's built by buffoons because it just looks like mangled metal. Okay? Built by buffoons. Solution and conclusion. Wow. 8, 9, 10. Whoa. I made it on time. Solution and conclusion. Well, first of all, on a serious note, what's really going on in the world is the biggest hoax the world has ever seen. There's no C word, it does not exist. They spray chemtrails down on you to give you influenza. So when you open the window, you start to sneeze. When you go outside, all of a sudden, you have a little sniffle here and there. However, all you have to do is stick to Mother Earth. Just make sure you drink your herbal tea, your organic herbal tea. Myself, I like echinacea. I take the tincture in the tube, the one you drop in water, and then you drink it. I do that. Sometimes I do olive oregano. I have lots of teas. I'll name all my teas: soursop leaf, guinea hen, guava leaf, just so many teas. Mulberry tea. Oh, hawthorn berry for the heart. Of course, chamomile and peppermint. Those are staples. Cersei tea because I'm from Jamaica. I have to have my Cersei tea. I always rely on my Cersei tea, and in the last 20 years, I've never ever been sick. So the solution is try to do the opposite of what the beast wants you to do. Try to exit the matrix if you can. Get yourself somewhere where you have clean water, clean energy, clean air, clean everything. And if that means leaving your job, taking your child out of school, so be it. This is a war. You are at war. We're all at war, and we are fighting for our lives. If you notice, our lives is at risk at the hands of the beast. Okay, so you're not just gonna lie there and sit there and take it. You're not gonna obey. You're gonna disobey. Okay, and you're gonna try to homeschool, home birth, and make sure you take care of them babies and you're responsible for them babies. Don't drop them off at school. Okay, don't let them watch television. And I know that's very challenging for working people. Try to work it out. Where there's a will, there's a way. Don't put no mask on these 9 ether babies. Stop it. Okay? I'm not even going to go into why that is wrong. That is against nature to cover up the baby's mouth and nose. If you want to do it to yourself and be a dummy, go ahead. Don't do it to them babies. It's child abuse. And literally, yeah, leave these beasts to their system with their AI and their nanobots that they're trying to put in everybody. I personally will not take the mark of the beast, okay? And I try 95% of the time I don't wear a mask, although there are certain, like few places where I will wear a mask where I don't know them. But in my hood, everybody knows me, so I just waltz on into every store without a mask. Okay, because I have a big mouth and I will cuss them if they say anything to me. Listen, I have my rights, my freedom, and my free will, and no one, I mean no one, is going to take it away from me. The only way they are going to get poison into my arms is over my deceased body. And speaking of deceased, I do not advocate harming any yourself. I will never commit suicide. I will never harm myself in any way, shape, or form. I'm just trying to put a disclaimer out there to keep myself safe, if you know what I mean. Okay, so the conclusion is we were Tartarians, we come from greatness, and we have fallen very far. And the Tamahu has taken over and usurped our technology, even though they've done a very poor job of it. Their society is not going in an advanced, innovative direction, it's actually crumbling. The little bit of breadcrumbs technology they give us is basic compared to 1,000 years, 5,000 years ago. We are paying for electricity and even gasoline for our vehicle, and we don't have to because all of this stuff is free. As babies, we're born into this world. We owe debt to nobody. So the fact that we have to work for our money is proof that we are all slaves, regardless of your phenotype, and you have to know this. I don't advocate hate towards any phenotype, although I will make reference to the differences between the phenotypes because there are, and we are not all the same. Nature doesn't have everything at the same levels, there's different tiers, and so too are the phenotypes. We are not all the same, and we are not on the same level. I need to emphasize that because somebody in the chat said we're all the same. Anyways, get out of here. Um, so let me see if I can read some of these comments here. Oh, goodness. First of all, type in the chat if you have any questions for me before I do wrap up because I know it's been 3 hours. I thank you all for sticking around. Let me see if I can catch up to what you said. I noticed that too. I'm trying to. Okay, let me see if I can read some of these. Wasn't Tartaria a civilization with all races um, were all one? Hell no. Okay? No. Okay? All races are not one now, and all races were not one then. Okay? We nine ethers were at the top of society as we were meant to be, and we created everything, everything mathematical, everything scientific, everything agriculture, healing, technology. We created it first. We are the originators of everything technological that you use today. You just have it in a smaller, dumbed down, low tech version. Okay? So, no, we are not all one. And the sun will tell you that because the sun burns and gives skin cancer to those who are not the same as the organic nine ethers of the earth. Get out of here. Thanks, Eccentric. Thanks for clearing that fool up. We all used to be one. Ah, shut up. Get out of here. Our people were amazing. I know. Oh my God. That's what I want you to take away from this video. Something positive, high vibration, high frequency, such as that. That sentence really sums it up. Our people were beyond amazing. I don't even think our brain can even conceptualize just how amazing our people were. And when I see young children in the streets and our elders are doing nothing basically, they're not teaching or passing down anything. They're stuck in the church. When I see broken homes, when I see our men cheating on our women cheating on our men, when I see our nine ethers going outside of our phenotype to a low vibration Krakatoid or Indio or it just I think of where we came from, and yeah, the moment we started to intermingle with them on a genetic level, yeah, that was the beginning of our of the end. And I also, besides us being taller and us living longer, something I mean, I kind of said this throughout the video, we were much, much, much more intelligent than we are today. Honestly, the most brilliant nine ether that gets the highest mark, it's smartest in the world, is not as smart as the average 5-year-old 1,000 years ago who was nine ether. Okay, the education that they give us is just regurgitating and memorizing. That is not intelligence. That is just memory. Their education system is based off of who can remember the most come test time. That is not intelligence. Philosophy, which nine ethers originated, that is intelligent. To be able to philosophize, to be able to reason. Debating, no, do not debate. Debate is low vibration, low frequency. To be able to decode, to be able to decipher, to be able to discern. This is how you apply your intelligence. Allow the wheels of your brain to turn. And during this video, I hope you noticed how I came to my conclusions, my hypothesis. I want you to emulate, mimic the way I'm able to break down, for example, the Wizard of Oz. Look at how I did that. That is ancestral DNA. That comes directly from the benevolent nine ether Ankh Esters. I give thanks to them. I am so appreciative that they use me as a conduit to get this information out. I am so grateful that I happened upon the 5 hour video that triggered me to put a little bit of his stuff in. But I want you to see that a lot of the spiritual downloads came directly from yours truly, Trinity God X. It came from the ethers, the benevolent ones. So I want you to see the spiritual aspect of my 3 hour presentation as well. I'm about to wrap up because in my life I don't think I've ever spoken for 3 hours straight. Technically I do customer service, but it's not straight. It's usually broken up. Yeah, my jaws are tired. My my mouth is not watery. It's full of saliva, which is strange. My nose is getting stuffy, that's the oddest thing. I guess it's from speaking and not. I don't know. The window is open. Time to do some echinacea and some oil of oregano. But does anyone have any questions before I wrap up in the next 3 minutes? Please type your questions if you do have any. Oh, like Avatar, the movie? Yes. Oh my goodness. The Naho. That is nine ethers. They're talking about an advanced civilization, about some giants. That is us. If you notice, the Avatar character has locks, like hard locks on their hair. That is us. I mean, oh, and just so you know, the Avatar movie is coming out in 2022. I cannot wait. The sequel, I cannot wait. I saw the trailer. Oh my goodness. Remember when you are watching the Avatar movie that they are telling your story, Nine Ether. They're trying to put themselves in it, but Krakatoids, they're not an advanced civilization. They were made. And oh, you know what I forgot when I alluded to all those children. Oh my goodness, I'm so glad I remembered. All those Krakatoid babies popping up. Yeah, those are clones. Okay, so what happened was the Krakatoids found out that we cloned them, and they got all salty, and they took the scrolls with the cloning information on it, and they re-engineered it to figure out how to clone their own people. Okay, and why did we make them? There's speculation that we made the Krakatoids because we needed slaves to help us build things. That is nonsensical because they can't even handle the sun. So how can they work outside? I don't think so. I don't know. I'm debating why we made the Krakatoids, but for all intents and purposes, they're here. So the ones that are here now are clones of clones of clones of clones. That's why some of them are like spacey. They are foreign to natural things. They're just getting into veganism. Well, veganism is from the government. Don't get into veganism. Get into a plant-based diet. Don't even do vegetarianism. Just have a plant-based diet. Don't put a label on it, right? But they're just getting into our high fashion, brightly colored clothes, hairstyles. They're just getting into dancing on TikTok in a certain way, moving their kundalini, solar plexus. They're just now in the last 5, 10 years discovering what we have always known and practiced. They're tardy to the party, okay? All right, so um, if that if no one has any questions, I'm going to close out this session. Thank you so much, Mede Ase, to my nine ethers only who partook in this very long video. Oh my goodness. Well, at least it's not 5 hours. All right. So if no one has any questions, which I don't see, I'm going to end the live now. Thank you so much, and I look forward to your comments. Please comment below the video. Please share this video far and wide, and try to teach it to your children because there's no swearing in it. And I would like to think that I was not entertaining, but not boring. Let's just put it that way. During the video, I meditate that it was enlightening and fun, and that you learned something. All right, until next time. This is Trinity God X saying to my nine Ether Nation, oneness.